I'm Dana Perino, and this is a Fox News Alert. Thank you for joining us on this special midnight edition of The Five. It's a big night for Donald Trump as the GOP frontrunner scores primary victories in at least 3 states, North Carolina, Illinois, and Florida. That's where he knocked out his rival, Marco Rubio, on his home turf, and soon after, the senator from Florida suspended his campaign. But in Ohio, John Kasich came away with a big win in his home state, his first victory and all of Ohio's 66 delegates. Ted Cruz has yet to win tonight, but shows no sign of slowing down in his campaign. On the Democratic side, Hillary Clinton has so far beaten Bernie Sanders in Ohio, Florida, and North Carolina. Many Republicans are still undecided about Donald Trump, but tonight, Trump once again vowed to bring the party together.
The fact is, we have to bring our party together. We have to bring it together. We have something happening that actually makes the Republican Party probably the biggest political story anywhere in the world. Everybody's writing about it all over Europe, all over the world they're talking about it. Millions of people are coming in to vote. This was an example of it today, and it's just a different thing. We have a great opportunity, and the people that are voting are Democrats are coming in, independents are coming in, and very, very importantly, people that never voted before. It's an incredible thing.
Well, Kimberly, this is what you were talking about last week. This was dubbed Titanic Tuesday, and so you have 3 of the 5 states going to Donald Trump in decisive faction.
Yes, so Leo DiCaprio had a big night, right? Titanic Tuesday. Look, I thought this was a very big night for Donald Trump. I don't think anybody can take it away from him. He did very well. Ted Cruz, it would have been great for him to at least won one of these contests tonight. We still have one to call, correct? So let's see what happens there. Marco Rubio, a lot of people thought that perhaps he was going to have to step down and suspend if he did not take his home state. In fact, he did. So I think that benefits, Ted Cruz. There seems to be somewhat of like a, episode of Survivor Strategic Alliance that has emerged there. And then John Kasich, of course, really encouraged by the fact that he had Ohio, which he needed to do.
Right, and so the home state advantage really working against Marco Rubio, Eric. But in Ohio, for Kasich, whose team came in late, sort of late July is when he entered into the race. He said that he was going to win Ohio, and that if he did not win Ohio, he was going to get out of the race. Having won tonight, I think that he'll stick it out.
Yeah, and he did, and he had a very nice speech. The victory speech was very sweet, really nice. He's a nice guy. He's a really nice guy. He still has 136 delegates total. Trump put down so far about 200 delegates. There's still about 100 and, hold on, I'll give you two right here. Another 107 left to be divvied up based on the proportionality. We still haven't heard about Missouri yet. Illinois still has, we haven't broken out Illinois, North Carolina, some of the other states. So we're still waiting to find out the numbers. But again, I'll do the numbers later. But this was a very resounding win for Donald Trump, and you heard it in his victory speech.
Yep.
His speech was different. It wasn't as, I don't know, let's call it, it wasn't as cocky as it used to be. It seemed like he said, let's unite the party together. It's going to be me. This is Trump saying it's going to be me, so let's get it together now rather than fight this out. I don't know that John Kasich staying in it might even actually help Donald Trump at this point. Now that Marco Rubio is out, now you have one alternative. You would have had one alternative to Donald Trump, Ted Cruz. Now you have 2, so you're actually going to split the alternative to Donald Trump vote between 2, and it may actually create a path for Donald Trump better. With both of them still in, the establishment types, it was a different story, because then you could suck delegates from both. I don't know. They may want to rethink this or figure out how they want to take this going forward.
Well, since we've mentioned him a couple of times, and because this was really big news tonight, let's go to Marco Rubio, who announced that it was the end of his campaign. Let's take a listen.
After tonight, it is clear that while we are on the right side, this year, we will not be on the winning side. While this may not have been the year for a hopeful and optimistic message about our future, I still remain hopeful and optimistic about America. While it is not God's plan that I be president in 2016 or maybe ever, and while today my campaign is suspended, the fact that I've even come this far is evidence of how special America truly is.
Rubio also issued a warning against the so-called politics of resentment, which he says which is damaging the GOP and the nation.
The politics of resentment against other people will not just leave us a fractured party, they're going to leave us a fractured nation. While this may not have been the year for a hopeful and optimistic message about our future, I still remain hopeful and optimistic about America.
All right, Greg, let's get your thoughts on the big developments tonight. Trump winning the 3 states, Kasich winning Ohio, and you had Marco Rubio decide to suspend his campaign.
Well, probably the most incisive, the most sensible assessment of Rubio's downfall probably comes from Mickey Kaus, who said that you look at somebody like Rubio, who has all these positives. You know, and he seemed to be performing best against Hillary. However, there was one thing that brought him down, and it was immigration. And when Trump made it that issue, there was no way that Rubio could ever get back up, you know, and reach a stature on that level, because that was the thing that was bringing him down. Yeah. Trump, I think, you know, people talk about the insider versus outsider. I don't think it's about that. I think it's about immunity. Where Obama, and I've said this before, had the historical first immunity, the first black candidate. That allowed him a measure of immunity about his history. A lot of people, you know, he didn't have all the, you know, he didn't have a long, you know, resume of achievement. It didn't matter. Trump had an immunity bubble and has it today as being an entertainer. And this is a first for a Republican Party. In order to be able to say whatever you want and not have people come after you, that is a new thing. And I think that's what is refreshing and what is changing the Republican Party. People aren't used to this sort of thing. The Republican Party is always being used to being attacked for being sexist or being, you know, mean. And basically what Trump is saying is, I don't care. And it seems to be working. In fact, it's working now more than ever.
Go ahead.
I was going to say I like the point that you made about that, because it's very interesting and also true. One of the first things that resonated with Trump was the fact that he said, we're going to build a wall, we're going to make Mexico pay for it. And I was like, wow, this is such a big, bold statement. And then there was a juxtaposition that was really laid out that I think that was like the albatross around Marco Rubio's neck, which was the Gang of Eight. And they kept throwing that kind of phrase, you know, at him that he was associated, and it sort of elevated Ted Cruz, who wasn't, and, you know, Donald Trump, who had a specific, you know, grandiose plan to build a wall and to be hard on immigration. And that's kind of what started, you know, Trump off. And ultimately, I think what kind of did Marco in.
Well, there's no indication in the polling tonight among Republicans that immigration was a critical issue. Zero.
It's fourth, and it's been the fourth most important issue in every Republican exit poll since we started this.
And when you say
Iowa.
Fourth, you're talking about single digits, maybe, you know, like 12, 15%. So that's just not the reason. I'm curious, because I'm very curious about why Rubio fell off the table. And I think I go back to the idea that it was when he started to go mano-mano with Trump. And people said, you know, I like the optimistic, sweet Marco Rubio. I'm not so crazy about Marco Rubio talking about hand size.
I don't think that's it either.
You know, but I think something had to happen. The other thing is, when you talk about Marco Rubio, you got to say, well, what was the message? You know, what was the message of his campaign? I think people worry about that.
Before Trump attacked Marco Rubio, the Right to Rise PAC spent $30 million attacking him for being not ready.
Oh, sure.
So not ready was the description. And then when Trump came in with the little Marco, as in you're not ready.
Don't forget
you're
Chris
young,
Christie.
Even though he's the same age as.
And Chris Christie was after Marco Rubio in New Hampshire.
Right.
And Jeb.
And Jeb spent a ton.
Jeb spent a lot of money.
In his
none of that
home
was
state.
on immigration.
But there's another thing, too. So we talked about this when this started. There's 17 candidates. And when you had 17 people, and one of them is Donald Trump appears much different and apart from all of them, because they were all senators and governors and whatnot, a doctor. But Trump stood out. And one of the reasons why he stood out was his use of social networks before anybody else. It's like when you go to the airline counter, your flight's canceled, you can't get anything done. You go on Twitter and you tweet about Virgin Air or you tweet about United Airlines. Trump did the same thing with the media. Yeah. He took his Twitter feed and turned it into a channel of expression. And nobody had done that before. So all of a sudden,
and it cost nothing.
And it cost nothing. And then all of a sudden, that builds, and then he got the I don't know, almost like $1 billion in free advertising through media, right, when you put it all together.
But see, now to me, what happened tonight was Trump had a fantastic night. I think he really has now control of the narrative. He's still got to do a tremendous amount. I think he's still got to win more than 50% of the remaining delegates. But the thing is that right now, all the momentum, all the talk, all the media is going to be hail the new king of the Republican Party, the new standard bearer for the party. The problem with this is he's now calling for unity, but I don't know if so many of the Republicans who voted tonight who did not vote for Trump are willing to play ball. According to what Fox was able to report, it's like 60% of non-Trump voters say they would consider a third-party candidate and that they won't vote for Trump.
So you have to identify those voters as people who are what you would call the old days as hard to get. Right? It's like if you want to bring the party together, it doesn't work with peer pressure. You know, you don't go. It's like saying everybody else is doing it, so you should do it too. You have to go beyond that and appeal to them and understand that why are they hard to get, and then you start there and then you work on them.
And also, Juan, as you know, as it gets whittled down to whether let's say it's Trump who gets the nomination, those people who say they would never vote for Donald Trump, when it's down to Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton, you know a good percentage of them are going to say, you know what, I didn't think I could ever do it, but I don't want another Hillary. I don't want two more terms of Barack Obama.
Well,
I'm going to go for Donald Trump. Hold my nose, take my medicine, and vote for the guy who I'd rather have than Hillary.
Well, here's the way I'm hearing this from political insiders is, right now, if you nominated, let's say, Rubio, he's gone, so let's just use Rubio as a stand-in, and use Rubio versus Hillary Clinton, the entire focus would be on, you know, Hillary Clinton, I don't know about her trustworthiness. Remember that Benghazi? You mean lots of lines of attack. But with Donald Trump, the whole focus is going to be on Donald Trump and all the things he said, all the things he's done, all the people.
It hasn't affected him, though. I mean, all the negatives that we.
Why do you think 60% of Republicans who didn't vote for him don't want to vote for him?
But when it's time to pull a lever or drop the ballot in the box, they end up voting for him at 47%.
Eric, remember.
47%. Think about that.
That's among a very limited universe. Remember, he says he brings in new voters, and the question is independent. So,
well, he does. We know that.
My point to you is, going into general election, if you're talking about independents and Democrats, he's going to have a hard time.
Well, you don't think he's going to bring Democrats over? Of course he's going to bring Democrats
over. But this points to the other things.
He's doing it now.
He's not. No.
Guys, we got to run, but we have another block. But you make the last point?
Yeah, this is what we're talking about is the behavioral change that Donald Trump has been alluding to, that we saw a piece of at the speech tonight, that he's going to be a kinder, gentler Trump. This is going to be the most eagerly anticipated transition since Bruce became Caitlyn.